Hi, everyone. Kevin Barry from Right% here, and today we're going to go over where B2B brand advertising campaigns go wrong. Now, every marketer knows that there are few more enduring competitive advantages than a strong brand, right? Everyone just talks about it. Oh, the brand is so important. Brands help your sales team close and help you recruit and all sorts of stuff. And this is the same in B2B as in anywhere else. Brand itself is a combination of three factors. It's awareness of your company in your target market. Do they know you exist? Your reputation in the target market. What do they think of you? And visual identity, which is what the biggest piece of brand that a lot of advertisers get to see. First, to understand B2B brand campaigns, you have to know the default for them. What do people do right now when we're talking about, hey, a B2B company is going to run a brand ad campaign? Generally, this is what it looks like. The company picks channels with enough volume to reach users. This is usually Facebook and YouTube. Sometimes it's LinkedIn. Picks targeting that makes sense for their target market. So, picking directors of companies with over 100 employees in the basket weaving industry, that kind of stuff, and runs ads to them, optimizing for impressions, video views, or a similar top of funnel metric. And I use top of funnel to distinguish brand campaigns, which are really going after the sort of top of funnel stuff, versus conversion or direct response campaigns or lead gen, which is optimized towards generating trackable, attributable leads and pipeline directly. Brand campaigns are the opposite of that, right? It's not meant for direct tracking. So when you're running these campaigns optimizing for views, you have to measure performance on something that is not directly attributable, close ones like we just mentioned. So the three things are: one, you can measure how many views, clicks, or video watches you get. Two, companies do surveys before and after. So both YouTube and Facebook provide this functionality. You survey users before they saw your ad. You survey them after, and see if a higher percentage of people have heard of you and think good things about you. And then lift test is, you run your brand campaign in half the country, you don't run it in the other half, and you see if the half you ran ads in did better overall in pipeline, conversion rate, whatever you want to measure, than when there was not a campaign running. So where do default B2B brand campaigns go wrong? The fundamental problem with everything we just talked about is with the targeting. So companies that run brand campaigns, they want to unlock new consumers that their direct response campaigns are not reaching. So they go to where the large audiences are. They go to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or television or something like that. The problem with those platforms is that the targeting you can select is not good enough to work for B2B on its own, even if you're already making it work for direct response. And the reason for that is direct response has algorithmic feedback loops that awareness style brand campaigns don't have. So, as an example, if you are a company targeting HR managers and you're optimizing your campaigns not for impressions or clicks, but for people to fill out a lead form, there is a feedback loop where the platforms see, oh, this type of person is filling out the form. And the thing they have in common is whatever's in common with all HR people. And so the algorithm gets trained to find more HR managers. When there's no loop, when you're just optimizing for click or view and not something that's really solid, like a lead form fill, the algorithm doesn't get trained to find the right kind of person. It just goes after more of whoever is viewing the ads. And just to put this in perspective, you're optimizing towards top of funnel metrics like views or clicks, which again, almost all brand campaigns do. There's such a weaker algorithmic feedback loop. That means even if you're targeting nominally good audiences, so like interests equals B2B, HR, whatever, your spend is largely wasted on the least qualified members of that audience because the algorithm doesn't know to go after the actual decision makers that you want. It's even worse than it sounds because ad platforms use auctions to determine who gets to see an ad. So normally, imagine there's an auction price set for every user of Facebook or every user of YouTube. The ones that are most likely to actually fill out your lead forms and convert and be real business customers are going to be some of the most expensive in this auction. More than one advertiser wants to go after them, probably dozens, because B2B decision makers are highly sought after. So when you optimize for leads, you pay more for those leads, but you actually are reaching those decision makers. When you are optimizing towards simply views, all of these platforms, Facebook and YouTube, are going to ignore those most valuable users because they're much more expensive on a cost per impression or cost per click basis. So basically, the platforms will get you the cheapest people possible when you're optimizing for views, because it gives you the most views for the lowest price. But it means that your brand campaigns are going towards the least qualified portion of your audience, which is why generally brand campaigns fail all the time when measured via lift test basis, or anything else that you can do to get a good view of campaign effectiveness. So with all that gloom and doom, what does work for B2B brand advertising if big pushes on the biggest platforms don't? One is precise audiences. So we just talked about going broad to big audiences. Another way is taking a proven audience. So something that worked for you already on LinkedIn direct response, where it's a list where everybody there is qualified for your product, that they could all purchase it. Um, that's when a campaign that is optimizing towards brand awareness goals, like clicks or views, are fine because you don't need an algorithmic feedback loop nearly as much, because you are manually telling the platform who to target. This is very similar to an ABM strategy, getting a precise list of accounts and hitting them with a series of ads. But really, it is one of the ways you can run a successful awareness campaign towards your target audience. Really proven smaller audiences. If you really want to get that large audience, because you want to get beyond what your direct response campaigns are reaching, you still need a feedback loop. And the way you can do that is optimizing for an event where you can still qualify the user. So it's not a demo; it's still more top of funnel. But if people are, going to a link you have and downloading content, ebooks, tools, templates, and there's a section there where they say, yes, my name is Jane Doe, and my title is Director of Marketing, and I work for a company with over 500 employees. All of those are signals which you can then use to get the ad platforms more data to feed the algorithmic loop to actually target more of those high quality people. So those are really the two options to make B2B brand campaigns work: either precise audiences where you don't care about feedback loops, or using top of funnel content to create a feedback loop. Now, how do you measure the results of these campaigns? I mentioned earlier the three ways to measure performance. One is clicks, views, video watches. This is not useful, even though it's the primary metric for most people running brand campaigns. We have no way to verify these views and clicks are really from the target market, and so it ends up being completely useless. Again, unless your audience is so tight and precise that every click matters. The second way to measure performance is surveys. Surveys are great for B2C. They're not good for B2B. The reason being, the algorithms are even worse at determining survey participants than they are at ad clickers. So, example, I ran a brand campaign for a fairly big brand that had a B2B and B2C arm, and trying to get the platforms to serve survey responses to only the B2B portion of that audience to get their opinion on the brand and not the B2C, was essentially impossible. And this is true for all sorts of target markets. The people taking the survey, it's very hard to ensure they're the kind of person you actually care about the opinion of, in these broad campaigns on Facebook and YouTube. So the best way to measure performance is a lift test, specifically geography based. Get a big target market who sees your brand ads, a big target market that doesn't, like half the US or collection of states or whatever you want to do, and see if running a big campaign boosts your numbers in the test geo. Um, and this is really like the golden way to do it. It takes a lot of spend, though. Most people underestimate how much spend is needed. You really have to do the math and see how conversions are affected. Now, exceptions. If you have a non-algorithmic or non-digital ad channel with good enough targeting, you can get qualified impressions cheap enough to make it net out positively. So, for instance, out-of-home billboards at an airport, there's no auction process. There's no algorithmic thing there that says, the highest quality users don't get shown. Everybody gets shown equally. So if you can get enough views, like putting a billboard up at an airport from your target ICP, you can just do that. It works. It can raise performance. You don't have to worry about any of the stuff we talked about in this presentation. So in summary, if you want to run a brand campaign, don't optimize for clicks, views, or video views. If you're targeting a large audience, you get too many non-qualified views. Instead, use narrow, proven audiences, and then you can optimize for click or anything you want, or optimize on broad top of the funnel content downloads and qualify. And lastly, make sure to estimate the sample size you'll need for stat sig results, before you set a budget and geography combination for both tests. You usually need more geographies. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. What goes wrong with